The first problem is that she's the evil queen. The evil queen is supposed to be envious of Snow White's beauty, and that is just not believable. Even in a movie with magical mirrors and dwarves and all that, that strains my ability to suspend disbelief.
The once shimmering promise of Disney's live-action Snow White has tragically dimmed, swallowed by a storm of unforeseen events. What began as a celebrated casting choice with Rachel Zegler stepping into the iconic role has now become a captivating and unsettling drama.
Probably the biggest aspect of disbelief you have to suspend is the idea that Gal Gadot, as the wicked witch here, as the evil stepmother, is somehow less good looking than Rachel Zegler.
That's the dumbest thing I ever heard.
Come on, gang. We ain't blind.
Whispers began almost immediately, hinting at an underlying tension, a narrative that would soon expose not just creative clashes, but also a deeper rift within the very heart of the entertainment giant. Few could have predicted that this reimagining would spiral into such a stunning series of events, leaving many to wonder if the magic was truly gone. A digital firestorm erupted the moment Rachel Zegler dared to challenge the sacred foundations of the original Snow White. Her critical remarks, echoing through social media snippets and interviews, were met with a visceral, almost primal backlash from legions of devoted fans.
Disney doesn't know what a Disney princess is anymore, which is crazy.
Disney's Snow White was essentially a box office dud. Early estimates suggested that they would take in 48 to 58 million in the first weekend. Apparently, it did 43 million in its first weekend. $270 million. Obviously, it was going to win the box office. It's the biggest movie at the box office this weekend. But, for example, Disney's Cinderella, which for my money is still the only good live-action Disney remake.
They saw her comments as nothing less than a dismissive swipe, a brazen act of derision against a foundational landmark of Disney's cherished legacy. The very essence of what they held dear felt under attack. And in an era where opinions can ignite a global fury in seconds, the reaction was swift and brutally unforgiving, casting both the film and its star into an uncomfortable, glaring spotlight. And what happened next would shock everyone.
It's going to be a gigantic box office failure. But the trend that you're noticing is that the worst performing of the Disney movies in terms of live action remakes are basically everything in the last 5 years. And that is a combination of wokeness and the pandemic. And now you better have a good reason to get people to the theaters, and this ain't it. The movie apparently is not very good. I haven't seen it yet. I would be shocked if it were. Again, the star, Rachel Zegler, is unbelievably charmless in public. Studios really need to go back to what they originally did, which was tell your stars to shut up and not say things, because no one is paying to hear your star say offensive things off the screen.
As more details about the new film's creative direction trickled out, a collective groan of despair rippled through the audience. Rumors about a toned-down fairy tale essence and radically altered character portrayals sent loyal fans into a frenzy. This wasn't the Snow White they knew or loved. The uproar grew so intense that even Bob Iger, the seemingly unshakable CEO, felt compelled to publicly step in, a move that starkly contrasted his usual hands-off approach with other reboots. Yet his attempts to quell the storm only amplified the rising chorus of voices demanding answers, leaving many to question if Disney truly grasped the immense legacy at stake.
I wanted to talk to you because you might be as happy as I am at the failure of Snow White.
2 years, and it's been one of many now predictable Disney failures. And it's more than just a movie at this point, because normally I wouldn't even watch a princess movie, but it became such a punching bag. And Rachel Zegler has become the symbol of everything that's wrong with modern Hollywood right now. And the audience has spoken. They were, honestly, Glenn, they were telling, every trailer that hit YouTube was getting ratioed into oblivion. And yeah, so Disney was telling you exactly what this movie was going to be, and the audience was telling them exactly what they thought of it. And now, unsurprisingly, it's flopping.
Behind the glittering facade of Hollywood, a troubling truth began to emerge. Insider accounts painted a stark picture of test screenings that were, at best, a disaster. These weren't minor tweaks or easily fixed special effects issues. Executives were confronted with a fundamental, unsettling disapproval of the story's radical departure from the beloved 1937 classic. Early talks of extensive reshoots only solidified the grim reality. The problems were deep-seated, not superficial. The creative team faced mere months to salvage core story arcs and rework character motivations. A desperate scramble to win back fans before an unmitigated disaster unfolded. The budgetary implications alone were enough to make jaws drop. Amidst this escalating chaos, a chilling rumor began to circulate through Disney's corporate corridors. As difficulties mounted and public sentiment soured, talk of blacklisting Rachel Zegler from future Disney productions became disturbingly loud.
This movie, her reaction, the way they did all of it, I think this is part of the undoing of that era as well.
These were movies made with a mindset of identity politics, intersectional feminism, which really goes against what Hollywood had done for hundreds of years, sorry.
While the term blacklist carries a stark, definitive weight, those in the know understood its true meaning: a studio's quiet but firm intention to suspend any future collaboration. Such a drastic decision would stem from immense concerns about brand image and audience perception. A desperate measure to contain the damage. This wasn't merely crisis management. It was a dramatic escalation that sent shivers down the spine of the entire industry. The mere whisper of a potential blacklist ignited a firestorm of speculation across industry media. Could Disney even market a major theatrical event fronted by an actor whose future with the studio was already hanging by a thread?
And Hollywood doesn't know how to be good anymore. They are so black-pilled. They are so dystopian. They are so nihilistic at this point that when you see something that's just good, that it disgusts them. What's happened is masculinity has been drained out of Hollywood, and it turns out they needed it. That's what it was built on. Now, it doesn't mean, and so is femininity, which, Snow White is essentially feminism versus femininity. And sure, you could, yes, it's made in 1937, but it boggles my mind that Disney took the film that built their empire.
Yes.
That it is a paradigm shift movie that is sacred text in Hollywood, and just threw away the original script and gave us, and I'm not kidding, communist propaganda.
Why do you say that?
Snow White. It really does feel like they did massive reshoots during the strike. So they tried to fix some of it, so it's kind of half a fairy tale and half, as the BBC says, Glenn, a Marxist call to arms. Even the BBC called it out for its communist propaganda.
Some insiders theorized about last-minute adjustments to the promotional campaign, potentially minimizing her visibility to shield the project from further harm. Others grimly proposed that Disney might reduce the film's theatrical window, perhaps even shifting it to a streaming-only release, just to avoid the utter embarrassment of a high-profile flop. The ramifications extended beyond Zegler as potential partners and sponsors began re-evaluating their commitments, unsure if the film would resonate or become a public relations quagmire. Deep within Disney's executive suites, a profound culture clash unfolded. The board of directors found themselves locked in a fierce debate over how to navigate this unprecedented crisis. One faction championed radical honesty, advocating for full transparency about the film's evolving vision and a public pledge to embrace the values cherished by older fans. Another group vehemently disagreed, pushing for a more traditional crisis management approach. Minimal information, upbeat corporate statements, and a swift move to the next big project. This visible collision of philosophies laid bare the underlying divisions within Disney, exposing the deep uncertainty about how the company should protect its storied legacy in a rapidly changing world. Rachel Zegler, the film's young star, found herself trapped in an increasingly hostile environment, caught between a rock and a hard place. Public support for her was sharply divided. Some applauded her attempts to modernize an outdated tale, while others condemned what they saw as a dismissive attitude toward a beloved classic. The prevailing sentiment across countless platforms was that her statements had undeniably fueled the crisis. Unconfirmed rumors even hinted at the possibility of significant rewrites that might diminish Snow White's character, a chilling testament to the panic taking hold behind closed doors. To even consider minimizing the protagonist in her own story reflected an extraordinary level of chaos and desperation. The Snow White fiasco transcended a single film. It became a symbol of deeper questions surrounding Disney's approach to its cherished legacy. While the studio built its empire on timeless animated features adored across generations, modern audiences increasingly craved fresh perspectives. This inherent tension was brutally exposed. Attempting to recalibrate a well-known story risked alienating loyalists, yet failing to adapt it for contemporary times could leave it feeling stale and irrelevant. The controversy also cast a long, ominous shadow over the entire practice of live-action remakes, sparking new skepticism about whether these reimaginings were truly worth the immense potential pitfalls. Financial analysts watch closely as even the slightest negative news about the film caused Disney's stock to waver. The exact nature of Rachel Zegler's future with Disney remains shrouded in secrecy. While no official pronouncement of a blacklist ever materialized, the distinct absence of any affirmation of a continuing relationship, coupled with the relentless swirl of insider whispers, continues to frame the discussion. The entire saga has served as a sobering, undeniable lesson in the brutal speed with which a project can unravel in the age of instant communication. Despite glimmers of optimism, the pervasive negativity and unsettling boardroom environment left little room for a triumphant redemption arc. Ultimately, this cautionary tale has underscored the formidable, unwavering emotional attachment countless people hold toward Disney's foundational magic, and how any perceived disrespect can trigger an immediate, powerful response.